Hi everyone, I'm Hallie Sebastian, and I'm going to be presenting this week's reading of Consuming the American Century by Emily Rosenberg. In this reading, Rosenberg outlines many of the defining factors of what she calls the consumer century. Rosenberg cites Henry Luce's famous 1941 vision for the American century, which laid out something he called an immense American internationalism. This was in regard to America's influence and presence in the world during this time. America was the first truly mass consumer society, and this transformed mass consumerism into a worldwide phenomenon. Rosenberg states, consumerism constituted the hallmark of the American century and ultimately became its undoing. The basis for mass consumerism arose within the unique circumstances of the United States during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These circumstances were characterized by abundance. First, mass consumption relies on the continuous exploitation of natural resources, including timber, agriculture, and mining. Second, American entrepreneurs sought technological solutions to the country's relative scarcity of labor during this time. Innovative technology during this time included revolutions in transportation, communication, and mass production. In the 1890s, overproduction emerged as a major problem in the United States. Later, higher wages in America also boosted purchasing during this time, contributing to what was called an American standard of living, which became a source of national pride. During this time, the absence of a rigid class structure created an environment in which material acquisition could become the dominant indicator of social standing in the United States. Commodities in America generally served as visible signs of personal advancement. This style of consumerism, which was so in tune with a highly diverse and mobile society, became intertwined with particular characterizations of personal freedom and with the political culture of democracy. Mass consumption and mass entertainment fashioned an American dream of upward mobility. The organization of social life was shifting between 1900 and 1930. Communities were being shaped by comfort, leisure, and personal interests. During this time, American consumer culture also redefined democracy and continually rearranged ethnic and class divisions. Irish, Italians, East Europeans, and Jewish people slowly became considered white and American. However, Black, Asian, Hispanic, and Indigenous people were largely excluded from the performances and displays of upward mobility and consumer nationalism. During this time, consumer products were also targeted directly towards white purchasers. However, consumerism gradually played a key role in expanding the definition of the nation and in changing the categories of people who might claim equal treatment as citizens recognized within the marketplace. Entrance into the market was tantamount to inclusion in the national community. Rosenberg points out that consumerism, stimulated by advertising and marketing practices, became finely knit into American economic, social, cultural, political institutions, and even into foreign policy. By the second half of the 20th century, most Americans, regardless of their actual incomes, imagined themselves as middle class and free. In this sense, the American way of mass consumerism had both an economic and cultural dimension. During this time, consumerism became deeply intertwined with capitalism. Celebrants of consumerism refuted claims that capitalism exploited workers and provided no long-term security, arguing that capitalism accommodated a wide range of workers' needs. Consumerism became a major Cold War offensive, reflecting the consumerist emphasis on what was called the people's capitalism. U.S. information officers were careful to portray consumerism as more than just materialism. Themes of people's capitalism portrayed a high standard of living as flowing from the values of hard work, spiritual fulfillment, and commitment to family and community. During the Cold War, this consumer abundance became widely accepted as an indicator of national power and virtue. In conclusion, mass consumerism in America grew from late 19th century efforts to manage abundance in America. Commoditization and revolutions in productivity stimulated by technological innovation drove the American consumer century. Rosenberg says, woven tightly into institutions and identities during the 20th century, mass consumerism became central and even defined the American way of life. Reflecting on this reading, some questions I'll pose are, How did consumerism play a gradual role in expanding who might claim equal treatment as citizens? Also, how did consumerism become intertwined with particular characterizations of personal freedom and with the political culture of democracy during this time?